We are live on YouTube. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Tell me if you hear me well and do you see me? I'm not sure if people see me on LinkedIn or Facebook. Please let me know. Anybody see me or hear me? Let me know. Hello, Ali Saif. Do you hear me actually? I think I. Aha, yes, I started. Yes, we see you and the mic is working fine. Perfect. So hello everyone and welcome. So today we have a special live. Today we will be reviewing live some malware analysis reports and we'll be looking at what questions should we answer, what we should be doing, what would be better to write than other things, how to represent all the technical stuff into something, into a business meaning, into a way that CISO can understand. Um, just to let you know, I have two articles that I will be reviewing. I didn't completely read them. I didn't prepare everything, and I decided that was by design. It's a feature to actually present this in how I like how spontaneously I would look at it and how I would feel about it, rather than preparing things. So this is how I will be looking at it and how I will make sense of what's written in the reports. We have two reports today. Very good. Everybody can see me and can hear me very clearly. Amazing. Somehow I am using I'm using Restream if you know about it, and in Restream I don't see the YouTube chat, so I have to always switch to see it. Hello everyone. Hello Amin. How are you? Um, Hi Harsh Mishra. Hello. How are you? I hope that I say it correctly. Um, Hello everyone and welcome. I basically have two screens and I'm looking into the chat here and I'm looking into here. So today we will be looking at two malware analysis reports that has been written by two of my students. And just to let you know, we have actually a malware analysis training and mentorship program. And this is literally the only program. It's not only malware analysis, incident response, and a whole cybersecurity program, and we are improving it to even cover. We already cover like complete beginners, but we'll cover incident response more in depth, and that's what we are planning to do. And this is literally the only training, the only program that gives you the mentorship beside the training. It's very practical. We do everything on real samples, on real malware analysis, and real malware attacks that had impacted different companies. And not only that, we do everything practically on real samples, but also you get my mentorship, so I can get you unstuck when you are stuck in some parts. When I started in malware analysis, I wish that I had a mentor. I had a podcast yesterday that was recording with Yunus, which will be published very soon in Arabic. And there was something that was really an interesting question that I had. It's like, did you have a mentor when you started, and would a mentor be useful? And my answer was that, like, when I started mentoring people, I can see the massive it changes along the time when they have a structured training and they have mentorship along the way. So when they get stuck in very trivial things, we can help them. We can unstuck them every stop. And that's not only this. We also guide them, give them a clarity on where they should go, because so many people are wasting time going into YouTube videos that doesn't help them get a job, or learning some stuff that actually waste of time, or getting stuck on installing the VM, for example, or installing some tools, or using this, or why this malware worked in this tool and didn't work on that tool, and so many little things that they might go into weeks stuck into this thing rather than focusing on building their career. And we're actually proud to have one of our students just recently. I think he will start on Monday. He got a job in an American company remotely, from Egypt. He is a student in Egypt and he got a job remotely in US. And the interesting thing is that before he get the job, we had like quite few months before, we had kind of, he told me that, oh, I want to get into the interviews and how the interview question looks like. And we had like an interview trial. So I gave him some questions and looked at his answers and told him, no, you need to change that answer, you need to change that, you here look so much into the technical part, you don't give the strategy, you don't have the mindset of the professional malware analyst. And lots of these tweaks that actually helped him like for like get along with the interview, especially the last interview, which was all questions the same style as we have predicted. And that was really amazing. And today we will have something a little bit similar, because we will be looking at this true malware analysis reports. I will share the screen in a second, and we will be looking at the business perspective. And that's, I think, I hope that you get something out of this idea about what's the difference between professional malware analyst and amateur malware analyst, and that's what I'm trying to cover today. But in general, uh, just to end that story, it is really important to have a mentor. It's really important to have a guide. It's really important, very, very critical, and very, very important to have a roadmap to follow. I see lots of people try to reinvent the wheel, trying to go to YouTube videos and books and stuff, and I did that, and it took me 3 years. For you, it might take you 6 months or more or less. So that's all about that. Let me check the questions, and um, thank you. Um, can you share a good malware analysis template? Um, don't get why yours is paid, but can you link us to a good template? Mine is paid. It's not about I'm just wanting to hold an information. It all comes into understanding the whole thing. You can't just take a template and follow it and say, oh, I will follow that template and that's it. I will just fill the blanks and it's all good. You need to understand the mindset behind it, and that's what I'm trying to cover today. I would say the good start for you is to look at real analysis papers from different companies. Something like ABT notes. Let me just link to it. I will share the screen in a second, so don't worry guys about that. Yeah, let me search actually on GitHub. Tell us more about the malware analysis and with machine learning. Sure, why not? About malware analysis with machine learning, let me check the other chat as well. Does anybody hear me on Facebook? There's no comments on Facebook. Hey guys, hello. There's only 6 people. We'll give time to people to tune in and join. So yeah, I can see myself on LinkedIn now. Very good. Okay, so back to the stream up here. So let me share the screen for a second. So with ABT notes, so this basically this repository, and there is another one as well called ABT notes. You can find it on GitHub. There's 2 of them. This was the older version. It's easier to look at it this way, and they have so many different malware analysis papers written by different companies. So this one, for example, it's written by FireEye, and this is talking about an attack on EBT 41. This is an attack, I think it is a China Nexus dual espionage and financially focused group, and EBT targeted industries like gaming, healthcare, high tech, and so on. And here This is an example of an article, right? You can start to follow this one and see if it does make sense to you or not. You can follow that template. Not all of these templates are really the correct way how you would present it to a company. And here today, we will try to cover what makes a good malware analysis report to companies, for example, especially if you want to publish that, if you want to give that report to some of the higher management inside the company. This article, for example, is more about, it's very technical. I can see that they started directly having screenshots and another screenshot and a third screenshot, which is not bad having screenshots, but might be, if it's too early, that might be a bit like people will lose the meaning, because maybe the CISO doesn't understand what's the meaning of seeing this data. What is that? What means content and macro and widget, and is it like a malware? Is it some configurations? Is it something bad? Is it something good? What's the meaning of it? We'll look at that in a bit. So, um, thanks for the ABT notes. You are welcome. So, going into the malware analysis with machine learning, amazing, thank you. Going to the malware analysis with machine learning, it's still it's a good topic, and there's also people are investing into that. I would say now machine learning is so much of marketing hype. It's used a lot in marketing, and that's why everybody wants to add machine learning somehow into their product, into their service, because machine learning is a good in marketing. But with the real with the real usage of it, there's multiple usage inside a malware analysis realm. One of the usage is to identify what is considerably malicious and what's not considerably malicious from all the activities. There's actually a really good book called Malware Data Science. It's written by Sophos guys, and this book is a really great book talking about malware with data science, and they have lots of different ideas on how you can implement um, machine learning with malware. One of the things that they talked about is looking at the malware as just a series of bytes and having what's called sliding windows. So every, like, let's say this is a malware, we take the first 5 bytes, we consider that a feature, a malware feature. Features in machine learning is kind of a unique characteristic thing about that file or about that data. So we have first 5 bytes is one feature. Then from the second byte, 5 bytes more is the second feature, and then from the third byte, 5 bytes, and we go like a sliding window like that, and we have so many different features. There's so many different ways you can decrease them and get the most important features out of these bytes. And then you will have, let's say, here's some code for something specific about the malware, and here's all the 5 bytes, and then the next 5 bytes, and the third and the fourth. And these ones will be very distinctive. This list of features will be very distinctive for that malware, for example. This is a simple algorithm, but there are more complex algorithm. I did work on something on semantic before, but there are so many different ideas. You can look at the big characteristics with some strings, with the APIs that being used, or the Windows functions, and the behavior activities, and so many different things. What are the most characteristic things about that file compared to all the other files? That's the first question that you can ask, and the answers will be in all the features that you will choose, and later on that will identify that malware apart from all the other samples or all the other things. You are welcome. He's saying book looks amazing. So it's really a great book. I have read it, and it's totally like 5 stars from it. And you guys, if you buy that book, if you look at my book, guys, read these books. That really helps the people. Do read that book. It's still 0 rates in Google. Do rate it if you read it and if you like it. We get back to the questions. up here. Any question, guys, before we start? Um, any question, guys? Cool. Okay, so let's get started with the real analysis, right? So can you please tell us the roadmap again for malware analyst and attack defense before some people are starting from static and waste time? Is that true? The roadmap to learn is basically first you should have the foundation of administration in general, which is the networking, like the TCP, UDP, not the complete CCNA stuff. You don't need to learn Cisco. You just need to, and not the routing type of protocols. You just need to focus on understanding how the packet looks like, the TCP IP type of thing. You also focus on understanding all the different layers, like the TCP IP, the application layer, like DNS, like HTTP, like HTTPS, how all of these protocols work. This is the first step. And the second step, you need to also to learn the basics about different operating systems, especially Windows, because if you don't know what's registry, for example, you might have a problem understanding so many different things. So you need to understand what is registry, what's NTFS, and some basic understanding of how you can set up and how you can navigate your way through Windows. Not like, oh, I know how to click here and click there and that runs my game and that's all of it. Like, you need to have a bit more. You need to be, comfortable with the operating systems. After that, you can start to go into the path of learning. I would say there's two important directions. The first one is to understand how real attacks look like, how top hackers get into the world's most secure networks. And this is a very, very important question. There's actually, let me get this one, Matter Attack and Navigator. I just want to show you that. I hope you see my screen, or you will see it very soon. So here, for example, here's all the different tactics, techniques, and procedures that attacker can use to get into the organization. And in most of the attacks, it goes like that. There is the initial access, how he gets into any machine in the system, how he maybe web attacks, maybe spear phishing with attachments. You see here like phishing, and phishing has like multiple techniques like spear phishing attachment, spear phishing with link, spear phishing via surface. You have different other techniques that valid accounts. Maybe he is insider or he has compromised other accounts through different ways. Maybe it's like a domain account where he can move from one machine to another, or just a local account on one machine, and from that local account he can maybe use some credential access tools, which we'll talk about in a second, and he can collect all the passwords and collect maybe a password for domain account, and from this password or from the hash of that password he can move from one machine to another and compromise more machines. So you need to understand, let me close all of that. So this is the initial access, the execution, how he maintains resistance, how he scaled privilege, how he bypass the defenses, how he access the credentials of different accounts, and then he can start to discover other machines and then move laterally inside the organization. Then after that he will collect all the different data he wants to steal, create cars, blueprints, source code, whatever, and exfiltrate this data and communicate with the attacker and exfiltrate the data, and probably at the end he might wipe the machines like here, or run around somewhere or something like that. So either like this content, okay. Um, or maybe just destroy the systems or something like that. So you need to understand the full attack, the full picture. After you understand the full picture, then you will start to understand, okay, what is the layers of defense, what is the things that how companies protect against these attacks. The layers could be from log analysis, like they have lots of logs from all the systems and try to make sense of what is happening along all of that. They have endpoint detection response, or EDR, which they can get information about if there's malwares running and trying to maintain resistance or try to split privilege or try to bypass the defenses, whatever they are trying to do. And then the next level, you do more investigation. Maybe you do memory analysis or disk analysis, like disk forensics, and then you find some malicious samples and then you do the malware analysis. These steps are very, very important. They are instant response more than malware analysis, but all of these are one thing, like it's all one goal, is to protect against this attack. So you need to understand all of these steps and you need to be able to follow with all of these steps one by one. So do I need to become pro with Wireshark? You need to become good in it. Pro is like, I don't know what bro means, because Wireshark is, I don't know how in depth you can get with Wireshark, but I can navigate my way, and you need to be able to at least open Wireshark, search for HTTP, follow a HTTP stream and see the whole bucket. Like if we look at this article, for example, this screenshot is from Wireshark. I don't know, he didn't write that, but this screenshot is from Wireshark. You need to be able to reach that point of, follow stream and stuff like that. So you need to get good in Wireshark, but not, sorry, yeah, but not professional. Then after that, you will start to dig into malware analysis. And with malware analysis, you need to understand how malware looks like. And again, it will go into this part because literally most of the attacks are about malware. This is how you communicate with the attacker. This is how the attacker presents himself. Like you will see him through his hacking tools, through his way to bypass defenses or escalate privilege or maintain resistance or getting the initial access. It's all about malware after all. So all of these steps, all of this specifically, this parts will all about malware. So you will start to dig deeper into how malware looks like and different types of malware like backdoor, ransomware, banking Trojan, and what are the different techniques. Um, with that, you will need, like, that's one track. And the other track, you need to understand operating system internally. You need to understand um, you need to understand as well reverse engineering and assembly. All of that, you really need to understand them in depth. So after that, you will be able to um, like you will have the full picture. You will have the understanding of the whole attack, and as well you're able to analyze things and you're able to extract this information from a binary file. So this is basically all the roadmap that you need to follow. We do cover that in our training, by the way, um, just to let you know. And which software can help in malware analysis? I would say don't try to focus on software. When you're going through, there's, I will answer the question, don't worry, but I just wanted to say that very, like, it's really important thing. There's two different type of people. There's one type of people who focus on tools and people who focus on general knowledge. They focus on how these tools work and how and what is the knowledge behind these tools. So my tool can help. The tools can help me, but they will not be. I don't know if there's a problem in the internet, but these tools might help me, but it doesn't mean that they do everything. Like I only rely on the tool. If this tool disappeared, I'm gone. You know what I mean? So um, let me read the chat up here. Good afternoon. Uh, what this live is about. This live is about malware analysis and incident response and cybersecurity in general. Today we'll be covering, we'll be reviewing different malware analysis reports, and that's all about. I see you on Facebook. Hope you are doing. How are you doing? Hope you are. Hope how are you doing? I'm doing very well, Paul. Nice to see you. This live is about malware analysis and the response. Hope you enjoyed. Back into here. Yeah, I think somehow something dropped up here. Anyway, could you please tell me the site where you get updated with malware for analysis? Okay, before I answer that question, what software we use lots of software. We use IDA-Pro or Ghidra. We use Oli Debugger for dynamic analysis. We use BE Studio or CFF Explorer or PID for BE characteristics. We use strings to read the strings of a malware. We use there's also a tool called API Monitor. It's okay. We use Brockmon. We use Process Monitor. We use Process Explorer. We use Volatility for memory forensics. We use Autopsy for digital forensics. We use PowerShell for instant response. What else? We use Power Forensics, which is in PowerShell to do more forensics. We use as well, there is a tool called Cape, just heard about it yesterday for investigation. That's just some of them. We use DN Spy for .NET malware. We use Java Decompiler or GD UI, GD GUI for Java and Android as well, because Android is Java. Android APK files. There are some other languages in Unity and stuff, but they are not common with malware. That's some of them. We use many of them. Yeah, that's what I can say. So okay, can you please tell us the sites where you get updated on malware for analysis? LinkedIn and Twitter, this is a very good place to be updated. Follow as well ABT Notes. Not this one. This one is now being redundant or deprecated. Now they use this one, and this repository has been updated 8 months ago, which is not like really early. It has been almost a year. It has not been so much updated, but here you can see all the different articles. This has been published by the end of 2019, so it's not too bad. For updates, you might just follow Twitter and LinkedIn and see what's being in the news. The Hacker News, the Cybersecurity Hub, they do publish a lot about different things, and you can see FireEye and Kaspersky articles along the way. So what else? Hi, Amr, please, where I can get the latest malware samples? Most samples seems outdated. I would say Ini.run. The Ini.run, I think that's the best so far to download samples. You can access it from application.ini.run, and from there you can find like the latest, like this one, for example. This sample has been submitted, I don't know, 6th of August 2020, and it's like a malicious file. You can check that out and see all that PowerShell code, for example. So I'm trying to get that code. Oh, I can copy that code. Yeah. Very good. So you have here, let's say, a PowerShell code. It's really interesting to start analyzing something like that. This is how most of the fileless attacks look like. I'll just duplicate that. If we go up here, well, I can go back. I really don't know how to navigate my life in this tool, but we'll go back to the invoice. So this is a Word document, and this Word document directly executed a PowerShell code. You know what I mean. So here, we went here, and then if you click more info, you see here they executed a PowerShell code. If we look, let's just give you an example of how PowerShell code look like. So if we took that, so here you can see -e means encoded. So this is an encoded type of code. PowerShell uses base 64 encoding if we go to a website like base64 decode and we try to decode that and click decode, then we have here some code. Of course, it's a little bit obfuscated, but if we, let's say, PowerShell beautifier. Beautifier tools are tools that helps you makes the code looks cleaner, and when you put some code up here and say the language is not Pascal, it's PowerShell, and then that's it. That's not as I wished, but anyway, here we can see that there is there is a website here, there's another website here, all are Polish websites, and we see that there is some lots of code is going on, but we can see some domains like here's one malicious domain or looks like a malicious domain, and here another one, and there's multiple domains, and might be he accesses these domains and try to get something out of them. We still don't know, but we can dig deeper into that code and understand what it tries to do. But from the initial look, we can access some of the domains he's trying to access. We can see that he's trying to start a web client and probably having all of these domains, and might be he's trying to access these domains. Of course, he's trying to be here very obfuscated code, but we can understand something. We can at least able to grab some domains. We know that he's trying to access these domains. We know that we see here like Win32 process, and maybe he's doing either process injection, or maybe he is downloading a sample and he's executing it. We don't know yet, but if we dig deeper into that code, we might understand what it does. And this is most of the files attacks look like. Sorry. So can you share lab setup in laptop for malware analysis? You need to have a VM. The easiest way is to go to Flare VM and GitHub that's created by FireEye. This is a really good VM. It has most of the tools that you might need for malware analysis. We actually, in the training as well, we have an updated version of a VM that has even more tools and more useful tools, and as well different choices like the studio and other stuff. This one has been, well, has been a little bit updated. I think last month was the last one, and packages here, maybe you can see all the different tools that they are using. So it's really a cool product. You can just download Flare VM and run and install on PowerShell, and you will have all the tools. But do that on a virtual machine. Don't do that in your own physical machine, because it's not good to run malware on your own physical machine. Definitely. So that's about that part. So live analysis versus offline analysis. I would say offline analysis is a good start. Don't start with malware analysis, with live analysis. Start with offline first. See if you can get all the domains he's trying to access, the commands, the information. And if he's trying to attack other networks or other machines in the network, or what he's trying to do. And from that, you can start to feel safer to run the live analysis. Also, you don't want to alert the attacker that this is a malware under analysis. So you need to first understand the malware, understand what it does, and then when you do the live analysis, it does make more sense. Most of the time I started with offline analysis, and I do live analysis if needed, and I do recommend that as well. So let's get started with the actual topic of today, shall we? I here see the people who are attending, and I see the chat questions and all that. I hope I answered most of the question. With assembly, someone is asking, could you please give me a good resource to learn assembly? To be honest, to be totally honest with you, I had a hard time finding a good resource. I had one resource called Isilian Assembly Tutorials, but not only that they are quite difficult, but also they have been down from the internet. I couldn't find them anywhere else. Um, maybe reversing the secrets of reverse engineering is a good source. There is also um, open source security training, I think. Source security training. I think something like that. They had assembly training as well. Well, they used to, I think. Um, so I think something like that, but I didn't find good resource. Probably you can start by reversing the secrets of reverse engineering. That's a very old book, very old book. But assembly didn't change from that time except to the 64. And I believe that they have a bit of information about, I'm not sure to be honest if they have good information about assembly. Also, learning malware analysis. Back to this. Learning malware analysis is a good book, and it's a good book in assembly and the behavior analysis of a malware, and as well memory forensics. Also, there is mastering malware analysis, which is also a good book. The first chapter is about assembly, and you might be able to access it even from here. I think you can access here. You can read, like, I think the whole first chapter at least. I think even more than the first chapter. So yeah, I think you can read here like lots of chapters already. So you can access it from here. Mastering malware analysis. You have all the information, and there's like one chapter when it talks about assembly. It's like a crash course, and as well learning malware analysis. They have a little bit. It's a little bit down, so it's like chapter 4, so you might not be able to access it from here, from Google Books. But with this one, we started with the assembly in the first chapter, so you might have access to it, and it's a good source as well. Okay, let's get started. Is it safe to boot with USB storage for malware analysis while internal storage are still connected to SATA, or should I disconnect at storage and only boot with USB with lab storage? Um, that's a very complex question. If I understood you correctly, you want to run the malware on your physical machine, but you will boot from the USB and you will connect your original hard disk, but you run the malware on the USB. I'm not sure if that makes sense. So, is it safe to boot with USB storage for malware analysis while internal storage are still connected to SATA? Or should I disconnect all storage and only boot with lab storage? I would say first use a VM, that's a better option. But if you will use one laptop for both, then you will need to either disconnect your original hard disk or connect it with read only. I don't know if that is kind of possible, but you can. There is even if your hard disk is actually outside, you can connect it to a write blocker, or you can install like a write blocker software. But literally, like if it's just part of your laptop, just you know just disconnect it. Like malware can easily, if the malware has a way to write into this hard disk, you are doomed. So you need to be sure that you disconnect it completely from the original from the original disk. And again, if you have used this USB for running the malware, never connect it back when you run the operating system from your SATA hard disk. Never put them on the same laptop together. The only way you can put them together is you have a hardware write blocker on your hard disk. So this hard disk is connected to the write blocker, then connected to the laptop. This write blocker will make sure that your hard disk is safe and you maintain your integrity, that there's no modifications happen on that hard disk, and that's the best way. But it's really a strange type of strange style of malware analysis, to be honest. But I can understand on the laptop speed. Okay, so back to so we have here an analysis was written by just zoom in, written by Mahmoud Nuruddin. Is his first blog, his first blog post, and he is a student of our training, maltrack.com, on at maltrack.com, and it's being presented by me. And anyway, so this is an exercise. It was included in the training. It's actually real malware and had a big effect. It was a real attack. So we will be looking at his article and will be criticizing it as it is a malware analysis report and what is missing and what's not missing. Of course, for a blog post, you don't need to have everything in place. You don't have to have everything correct. But if you are, it's just like showing your skills. But if you will have a malware analysis report that is being written for a company, it will be completely different than that. So don't blame him for having it in this way, but we will look at this article and see what we can fix in that. Should we start? Can you share the network topology for malware analysis lab so that I'm confident if I execute the malware, it will never harm my host or spread on my host PC. So there is two different ways. First, you can connect the VM host only, which is kind of separated from the network in total, so it doesn't connect to the internet. One of the other ways is that you have a VM which is running Tor. There is multiple Tor VM machine. This is one of them, for example, Unix. And Unix is basically it's a Windows, Linux, Mac. You can have whatever the machine you want. And this is a VM that actually does run as a Tor gateway. So you install this VM, you run this VM, and you make this VM is the default gateway for your malware analysis VM. So the malware analysis VM connects to this one, and from this one connects to the internet. This is the very basic type of topology. If you are in a bigger company, then you might have a production network, an infection network, and there is a network in the middle where you do the connection between both. This is if you have multiple laptops and multiple servers, and you communicate with them through this middle ground. And through this middle ground, you only use let's say you only use FTP, for example, or specific ways of transferring files. You block the transfer of any malicious files from the production, from the infection to the production, or any binary file, and that could be the way it works. Anyway, let's get started with Jonab malware. Okay, so Jonab is so here he starts with what is Jonab malware, which is that's like a kind of a little summary. And here, this is a good idea to start to describe what this malware is about. Mostly when somebody like from a higher management, they want very easy answers. The first question he has, what is that malware? So basically, it's a remote access tool, so right? It's a type of malware used by the government in North Korea, so here's this attribution. Mostly when you have an attribution to one specific country, do not say that bold. You don't say it's used by the government of North Korea. You can have a section talks about the attribution and talks about that it might be used by North Korea, and this is all the evidences. It's two-stage malware, means it's dropped by another software. I wouldn't say it in this way. Two-stage malware means it's dropped by another software. You can say that there are multiple. You can say that the attack is multiple stage attack. There's the initial access was this. Always when you go into describing your malware, revert back to this one. So here it's like the initial access was a phishing email, has been the attackers compromise the system through a phishing email, and then there is a dropper, and then there is something. So it's better to return back to this one to describe your malware. Another, in this case, is Bramble malware, which was part of another of the charges against this one. Okay, so we have seen that, so we can say that it's a multi-stage attack, and we have seen that this malware has been used before another attack with Bramble worm, which is part of this information. So this is all attribution, which is good. It uses peer-to-peer communication. That's a good part to add, because it's good to understand how this malware communicates. Is it HTTP? Is it UDP? Is it how it communicates to the CNC? There's also established peer-to-peer communication and manageable to enable other operations. What type of operations? Very important. Windows devices have been compromised, allow data exfiltration to drop and run secondary payloads, and shade proxy communication to manage, and blah blah. This part is good. The bad part that it's just a Wikipedia, so it's not like your analysis. But okay, we don't say no. But if you're analyzing a malware, you will mostly be the person who writes this information. This way of writing is really good, and it gives a good summary about what this malware is doing. So somebody will read that, will just understand most of the things he wants to understand. Is it it's a remote access tool, the attribution, the attack, how the attack look like. You might revert to this one to use this information, so you can say that the initial access was phishing, the maintain resistance. We'll look at that later. And then you mentioned also another malware. You mentioned as well how it communicates, what it does exactly. Manage boots to enable other operations. Better to mention what are the other operations as well. You're welcome. Okay, so and then it does allow data exfiltration, drop secondary payloads, proxy, file management, process management, creation and deletion of directories, and this is a complete understanding of the malware. The only thing is that this is all copy from Wikipedia. It's not your analysis. That's not a good thing to be a start. But anyway, summary. Here's that's not a summary. This is the summary. This is the brief intro, brief summary. This is IOCs. This is basically the IOCs of the malware. That doesn't describe the malware. It just describes the indication of compromise. These information are really good for SOC analysts who wants to take this information, go and search in their systems if these things they have in their systems. This is how they can able to defend against this attack, or see if they have missed that alert or not. They might be infected. One of the good things you can include here on the before you go into the IOCs is to include a section for attribution, section for how the attack look like, and as well a section about who is targeted, what organizations have been seen targeted. If you are the person who write about this attack as semantic, for example, or FireEye or Trend Micro, you will have the information to answer that. If you don't, maybe you will do some open source intelligence to know where this has been used and where it's been submitted, what are the organizations that has been compromised through open source intelligence, but you will not be having the data. Anyway, most of the IOCs, it's good to have them in the beginning of some specific sections or in the appendix, not like in the beginning. So it drops this, and also creates these registers. Somebody who reading that, if he is a CISO or an analyst, he will not understand anything from all of that. But you need to make meaning of what it means to drop that, what means to drop that, what is this, all of this files, and create two surfaces. So creating two surfaces means up here in the attack, it's a persistence way. So you go here, I think there is scheduled, there's one of them that talks about, no, this is, sorry, here, in the persistence. There's one that talks about creating a surface. External remote surfaces or system surfaces. It's in the execution. You can take that one and say, well, I saw that the attacker is using system surfaces to have to execute the malware. So you can say that the tactic that we saw the attacker is using is execution, and the technique was system execution and system surfaces and surface execution, and this is the way he executes the malware. So that is more understandable than says that it creates these two surfaces and without giving any information. And here as well, this registry information is related to the surfaces, so you don't need to mention them again, because you know that creating two surfaces means modifying this registry. Of course, you will need to understand what this registry paths means, but current control set surfaces and then the name of the surface. That is mostly how surfaces being created in the registry. Am I going too fast? People are getting lost. Hello guys. Do you still hear me? Any questions so far? Any questions so far? If there is no question or no one is replying, I will close I will close the event. So, guys, I want you to be more up and running. Hey guys, do you hear me? Is there any question so far? All good, everything is okay. Perfect. So here is very important to focus on what are the questions that every single person wants to answer. So for the CISO, they're mostly interested to know what has been affected in the system, how the malware came first time, what are the weaknesses they have in their systems, and how they can invest their budget to better protect themselves against this attack. So it's very, very important before you talk about all of that is to describe how the attack came first time. And that might not be through malware analysis only, but it can include digital forensics, memory forensics, and other things. Email logs, and also looking at the compromised email accounts and see how they have been compromised, what the emails have been sent, and stuff like that. So understanding the initial access is very, very important for somebody like CISO. So you can say, okay, if they have came through social engineering through phishing email, then we need to improve our spam filter. We need to improve our awareness training. We need to invest in that. Then we talk about okay, they have run some surfaces. Why these things hasn't been picked up by the SOC analyst? Do we have a problem with the monitoring tools? Why this malware has been running without being noticed? What are the exact tactics and techniques? And again, getting back to here, why a company decided to categorize all the attacks? Because if I know that the attack has came through phishing and has been executed through system surfaces and then has maintained resistance through surfaces or through other stuff, then they have escalated the privilege through this, and they have bypass the defenses through this way, I can know what are the where's my weaknesses, what I can fix. Every one of these ones, there has to be an alert in the endpoint detection response. It has to be some people looking at these alerts has been a response technique and this response tactic that can detect again, they can defend against this stuff and avoid making the attack goes from here to there. There's so many hooks up here, so many steps that attacker has to go through. And you need the SOC analyst, you need your response techniques, you need your alerts to stop the attack before it goes to the next step. If it's a phishing email, you stopped it from there, there is no loss at all. But if you have it, if the initial of the phishing email was able to get access to one of the machines and execute the malware, then you have a machine that's been compromised. If you reach the lateral movements, then you have other machines that have been compromised and possibly servers. If you reach that point, there is data has been stolen and could be very sensitive data. If you reach that point as well, you might have massive losses through ransomware encryption or data wipe or even firmware corruption or whatever the destruction that could possibly happen. Like data encrypted for impact, this is ransomware. Data manipulation, defacement, which is basically reputation, affecting the reputation of the company, and so on as different types of impact. So you need to stop the attack through going through all of this, and that's the CISO mission. So you need to provide this information, you need to answer that for him. Then comes the incident handler who wants to understand also how the attack started and what they have missed through their analysis, what the alerts they have missed, what type of communication they has been doing, and they couldn't pick it up. So they might they might do threat hunting based on these techniques. They might try to have new alerts, new dashboards that make them able to see this type of attack. One of the things, for example, this is used peer-to-peer communication. How we can detect peer-to-peer communication? Maybe through visualization, we can see that one IP is communicating to so many IPs outside or inside the organization. That could be a good graph to see if this style of communication is happening inside the organization. So these questions needs to be answered. One of the important questions also by incident handlers and by SOC analysts is the IOCs, the files, the registry changes, the MD5s of these files, and probably if you have the domains, if it communicates to some domains, or have a YARA rule, for example, that could be a good way. Also the path is up here, all of these things, the mutex as well, could be all good details to provide for SOC analysts to answer. All of that is better before you go into the analysis, because the analysis, if you put a picture of the code, nobody will understand anything. But if you mention what is, like here, let's analyze the most interesting function in the malware. Why is the most interesting function and what it does? I don't understand anything. And here, perfect. Let me just answer some question up here. The malware was packed. I don't think that this malware was packed, to be honest. I don't remember, but I don't think so. Perfect. There is a really good tutorial for all the debugger tool. Online, there has so many tutorials, but really, like this is something that I've been talking about for so long. Don't search for only tutorials. Like the most, like, malware analysis is not about using the tool, and it's not about how to debug different things. It's part of it, but it's not the most important part. The most important part is what to look for in our debugger and how to do different things to understand the malware functionality. There's so many different ways, and what the evidence you should look for, what's the meaning, why this is the most interesting function, what's the meaning of all these commands, and what that represents as in a professional way. What does it mean it creates a surface, for example? That's execution, that's maintaining persistence, that is some real information, right? This is also, if running services means that services will run in system, which means it's privilege escalation, and they can have access to the memory, they can run, let's say, mimikatz and bomb the memory. So you need to understand this. This is very important. But tutorials, it's easy to find tutorials on YouTube. Tutorials for Oli Debugger and for other tools. I'm sure if I'm not sure if this already answered. If there's any standard format creating the malware analysis report? If none, what would be the best canonical order to understand on its best? Then, if there's any technique also on how to report to be presented, yeah, on exclusive understanding. So, very good question. So, what is the standard format? I wouldn't say there is a specific standard format, but the most important thing is to follow specific, is to focus on the questions in mind and always answer the higher management questions faster than the other people questions. So, at the beginning, the higher management is what this malware is doing, um, how it came first time, who is the attacker motivation, what they have stolen, um, all of this basic question. Does the integrity of the systems have been compromised? Integrity means the modifications of files, or he modified some accounts information, he changed something. The confidentiality, he is able to access credit cards, is able to access sensitive personal information, stuff like that, because they have to report that to GDPR and to get they might get fined, or there'll be a big problem. The third is the variability of the system. Has it affected the availability of the system? Their systems were down, services are down, how that would impact the system, impact the business. And the second question, how we can defend against that in the first place. So is it because they came from phishing, so we need to improve phishing or not? All of these questions. And once you understand these questions, you will be able to um, like this is the first things you need to answer in the report. So let's say we will look at another report up here, and this is a better example. So just better. So before you go into the technical details or the technical analysis of the malware, you would start, let's say, with the brief summary, of course, the content. Then you go into describing all the different attack, like the metro attack. Um, you describe, okay, what from all of these attacks have been found um, in the malware. Let's say initial access, we found phishing, we found the execution, we found surfaces, in persistence, we found this, we found that. So a list of all the different tactics and techniques and procedures. This is the second thing, attribution and attacker's motivation. And then findings, incident response findings and stuff like that. And then you go into the technical details. And then when you go into technical details, it's very important to provide the file information, like the all of this different like how I can say IOCs. So these IOCs can be used by SOC analysts and incident handlers. And then you provide this one, you provide in the registry or the files, you provide in the processes, you provide in registry keys, and also you might find things related to domains and IPs. Sorry. Um, as a beginner, which class of malware should I begin to analyze? Um, as a beginner, you can start with, if you are a beginner in reverse engineering in general, then start by crack means save/archive. This is a good start for reverse engineering in general. This is like lots of crack means, and they have like from level 1 to level 10. I don't know here, like here's the difficulty is 2, this difficulty is 3, this difficulty is 4. So you can download all of these ones and start cracking them. And here as well, you can browse the solution. I think the solutions are written somewhere. Yeah, a solution by ASIC published at that time. You can download the solution if it's found, of course. And you can find so many different things, and you can download them and start analyzing them. And as well, you can start read where we put it. Yes, the ABT notes. Download these articles. Let's say one of them, like this one, for example. Look if there is any hash. Like here, for example, we found these two hashes. Do we have them in any .run, for example, or hybrid analysis? We can. I don't know if we can search up here. You can search, but somehow I get lost with this app. They updated the look of it, and now it looks way crazy. But you will find a search bar up here, and you can search for it, or you can go to hybrid analysis. Let's say this is, I think, one sample I bookmarked or something. Then you can search for the hash and see if it's found or not. If it's not, then try to go to another article, get the sample. And the good thing is that if you follow with these articles, you will know if the malware is complex or not. And as well, you will know if you will have an analysis here, so you can see here like the some information here, the network communication, the commands, how it receives some commands, and different things that can help you understand this malware and analyze it. So that's a good way to start. So you have an analysis in front of you. Of course, this one article, there's so many of them all up here. You can just search for any one of them. You might find things like 2018 and 2017, you might find them in hybrid analysis, as well as the new ones, you might find them in any.run. And just follow one of these articles. If you found a sample, then do the analysis and read the article at the same time. If you are stuck, look at the article. Does it represent anything? Hope that answers the question. Ryan is saying thank you. You are welcome. Up here, back again. Maltrack has great tutorials for Oli debugger. Of course we do. And we do cover, like, this is the thing that I care about, is to cover the knowledge behind. Like, you can use Oli debugger, you can use x64 debugger, but how to unback a malware easily, what different techniques you have, like call stack backtracing or breakpoint on execution modified data. We do have different techniques, and we do teach them inside the training. As well, we do teach how to be a professional malware analyst. So we do cover from the technique, from the tools, to the general knowledge and the strategies. And that's what hopefully we are doing better than the others. So other questions, all could continue. Okay, we get back up here. So here he is talking about the most interesting function. Of course, nobody will be looking at the screen, so he needs to describe that. As it's explained here, the malware gets a system directory and concat this and this and blah, 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 to variables and this function also getting the output from the debugger and does printf. This description, there is really so many people who start in malware analysis. They have this problem of trying to write the story of the malware, trying to read, like, how do you do analyze? You do this function happens first, and this function happens next, and then this next, and this next. So you try to write all of this into points. That's really wrong. First, you don't need to write how the malware goes step by step. If you're creating a file, then creating a service, then in the files section, you talk about the files that have been created. In the registry section, you talk about the registry, the modifications. Like this part here, for example. Here's the registry changes. He talks about the registry here. This registry represents maintaining persistence. This represents current control set, control, save boot options. This is something else. Here as well some settings for the malware, and here image file execution options, which is a way to maintain persistence. So all of this registry changes is here, regardless of where they have been used. If they are used early in the malware or late in the malware, you put all these changes up here. If you do something, if it does something related to files, if it has, like, let's say this exe file has been dropped by this malware. You talk about the dropped file in the file sections. Like here the file system changes, you talk about the file and what's exactly this file, and maybe you also mention the hash up here, right? So that's here where you write the file, and here where you do write the registry. So you don't need to write the story of the malware. You just put everything in its own section. This is the first thing. Second thing, do not write the story of how he does something. So he gets the system directory, concat it with this and this and this, two variables, and this variables within the function and this function after getting the output it does printf. So in general, it just gets the path, it just creates the path of this files. This is you can represent that in a simple way, like can go here. You can do it like, I will just write it notes online, or no, yeah, that's better. So you can write it this way. It creates a new service and named whatever with malware path. Here he's saying it gets system directory connected with this and then this and then that. This is a very long story that is basically useless. You just say here the malware path of system or system 32 or whatever, right? And then here, done. You don't need to write the story of how he created the path. This is really irrelevant. Like nobody cares about how he was able to write the path. He took the system path, then he connected it with this variable name, and then he saved them in another variable, and then he took that variable and put it there. All of this story doesn't matter. The matter is this is the path of the file. That's it. You write that in the files, this file has been dropped into that path. And in the services or processes list, you talk about that there's a service that been created with this name. Let's say it was that name, and there's a service created with that name and with the malware with malware path that, and the MD5 hash is this, and that's it. You don't need to go into more in-depth of how he created, how he connected the puzzles, how he created all of that. This is very, very important because I see lots of people are doing that. Then here, then the malware opens the service control manager trying to find the service within this. If he can't find it, then he's trying to create a new one. Just say create a new service. Just say it creates a new service with that name, with that path. Just one line here described all of that. So that's very, very important. Do not go so in depth into how the malware does the task. Just focus on what is the task that the malware is trying to do at the end, and just talk about that. So the malware creates a service with that name, in that path, with that file. That's it. All of that, all the screenshots with that data can be in just one line. The malware loads the resources contained in memory. So okay, you can find this resource information. So it looks like the malware is in the resource file. So you can say up here, the malware drops this, let's say, .exe from its resources, and that's it. MD5 and it writes it to blah blah, and then you can have like how we see in this article, for example. This is another student we have, and you can say this file has been created. Let's say this file has been created and this has been dropped through registry, for example. Has been created and has been dropped through registry. This file has been created, blah blah blah. So you don't need to go into so many details of how things has been done. This is very, very important. You don't talk about Open Service Control Manager, or you don't talk about how the malware load the resources and how you can find the resources and blah blah blah. And also don't mention how you do stuff in your tool. There's two things you try to avoid in the malware analysis report. How the malware does its thing, which is the most important, what it does, not how it does it. Not all the different commands it's trying to load and call. The second is, do not mention how you do stuff in your own tools. Nobody cares how you do it in your own tool. What's important in your malware analysis report is what has been done. You might mention some screenshots like this one to show that there are an MZ file in the resources. That was something found. Might be showing some, if you will show some screenshots, not about things that uses just some normal Windows commands or Windows APIs, but maybe a screenshot of an encryption algorithm or something that is very unique for that malware. This is not really unique because you can see that in any application that accesses the resources. You can see that in any application trying to create a service. And you can see that in any application trying to create a path in the Windows or system directory. So these screenshots will not be useful and doesn't represent the malware. Then the malware creates the DLL file and loaded the resources from the memory, blah, blah. Then you can just mention the path and that's it. It's the resource loaded to the memory, also repeat this for that thing. And then the malware opens this registry and adds the value this and the service to startup. So you just create this, you can put that in the registry keys and create this surface and explain all of this. So he creates the surface, and then the malware creates a registry key with the name parameters, which basically explaining how he created the registry key, then adding the DLL path to the registry. All of that can be saved, and the malware starts the service. So this is just describe how a malware, like literally you might be able to describe most of it in these two lines, for example, the whole malware, for example, right? And this is how you do write your malware analysis reports. It's not about how so many different things is being happening, but how you can deliver the information in a way that somebody can understand. So you create a service named this with the malware path, blah, blah, blah. And here you can mention, you can go here to uh, to the method attack, go to this system services, go to service execution. You see that number T1569. So you can see here T1 T1569.002 execution system services, and then he create a new service with that. And then here, let's say dropping a malware, then that's, let's say, I don't know, that could be also another another something here, and you can choose that one and put it up here as how I can say, can I color them? No, that's not a good, bad idea. You can put all the attribution to method attack, so somebody can say, oh, so basically he executes the malware through system services, and he does drop two files in that path. That's very good information, and that's enough. You don't need to go more in depth. So this is about this report. I just wanted, like, he has good, he did some nice work, but it is still lots of things needs to be done. So like, if you, Mahmoud, is listening to me, so I would say here, go into analyzing these files and try to understand what these DLLs are doing. So if you will have a malware analysis report, you will have the first sample. Then you do have like different sections for different samples that you have analyzed in the attack. So the first one is this one, which is the dropper. Then the second one is these dealers and these services and what exactly they do. So this is the second section, and the third section is something else, and so on. Hope that answers the question. Is there any question so far about that? Any question, guys? I think I will finish it on at here. Any questions so far before I close? Sorry. Any questions so far? I will stay for 2 minutes. Any questions? Did you guys learn something today out of what we have mentioned so far? Was it a useful presentation for you guys? Don't see any interaction. I think I will finish it here. Okay, guys, I think there's no questions coming on. So thank you guys for joining today. I hope you learned something. I think, yeah. Do you think automation and machine learning will hurt malware analysis career in the future? No way. No. The machine learning is way far from doing all of that in-depth work. And don't be so afraid of how machine learning can take jobs. At the end of the day, who writes the machine learning algorithms are the malware researchers who understand the things. If you are a user, if you are just a good user, you will be replaced by machine learning, by a robot. But if you understand everything in depth and you have the knowledge and you can able to create something, you will be irreplaceable. Unfortunately, machine learning replaces people who are just learning how to use a tool. They just know how to use a tool, where to click, and doing things routinely, but not the people who have the knowledge in depth and able to create the next thing. So that will never happen to somebody who is a professional malware analyst, not just somebody who do like how this videos on YouTube, click F8 10 times, then click F9, then you have unpacked the malware. That's the people will be replaced by machine learning, because what they do is even not machine learning, just simple code can replace them. But machine learning would never replace malware analysts who understand, and anyone in cybersecurity who really understands how things work in depth, and he is able to create the next thing. That can apply to malware analysis, apply to pen testing, apply to everything. So don't worry about that if you learn correctly. Ryan is saying, thank you, sir. I learned a lot today. You are welcome. Hope to see you with us. Thank you, sir, for this great session. You are absolutely welcome. And great analysis. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone. And at the end of the session, I want to tell you first, thank you for attending today. It really means a lot, and I hope to see you more and more for all the next videos, small videos, and lives and so on. And also, if you're interested that I help you by myself, look at your own analysis report and do critique it and do analyze it and do help you with it. Then I do recommend you to join our training, the malware incident response training. It's really in depth, and as well it is a training that we do not only provide so much of value, but also provide mentorship and provide something practical. And we do help people get a job. We have someone who actually got a job. He will start tomorrow, should be the first day in his new job in US. And we help you along the way from learning to build your resume to apply for a job, to pass the interview, to get the job that you dream of. So I hope to see you joining us. This is the page of our training, but yeah, the laptop is a bit dead. So anyway, you get the idea, right? So anyway, I will see you in the next session, next live. I hope to see you guys in the next live, and let me know in the questions or in the comments if you have any question. Message me and let me know. And well, something has went wrong. I just wanted to get here. Well, anyway, this is some of the things we do cover. We also have the workbook when you have like exercises and solutions. We have so many different things. Anyway, hope to see you with us and see you next session. Bye bye. How to say bye bye?